Hi, I'm Joel. Today we're talking about the pitfalls of a composable strategy. What are the things we want to try and avoid, and how can we ensure success in the long term when you pick what I think is a great solution in choosing a composable architecture, and how can that be the best fit for your business in the long term? Let's dive in. So this kind of pie chart is how we've been visualizing a composable architecture. But for this video, I want to show it a little bit different, and I want to go back to basics with a very simplified version of what I think is the most basic composable architecture. You have a headless CMS and you have a website. And when it's just like this, it's easy to keep in our head. We can visualize exactly what it is. And of course, I'm going to use the Agility logo because I'm CTO of Agility, our headless CMS, but it could be any headless CMS that you're working with. And what's different between this kind of architecture from a non-composable architecture is that right from day one, first of all, you can choose a modern framework like Next.js that you want to work with, but you're going to need a developer to implement that. And most systems you're going to need, like pretty much, let's be clear. Everyone's a technology company these days. Even if you don't think you're a technology company, technology is a big part of the success of your company, and developers are a big part of how you implement that. So whether you have a developer on staff or whether you're going to work with a partner that's going to build something, that is a big part of a composable architecture. And as you look at that, you can think of that as a technical overhead, right? Technology itself is an overhead for your company, and composable is not going to make that any different. It's going to make it change in how you kind of allocate those the funds that you're spending on that overhead. But developers are going to be a part of that, and you want to look at how the rest of the composable architecture can mitigate that. You should be spending less overall on composable than on an older traditional solution that's an all-in-one. But as you add things, this is one of the pitfalls. There's a lot of different things that you can add, and each one of those things is going to add to that overhead. If I have search, analytics, commerce, all of these things are, new pieces that I might need to solve my technical problem. Each one of those is going to have to be implemented by developers or, one or more. And all of those are going to have connections to the front end properties that I'm driving, probably a website, it could be an app, there could be more things in there. That over time can get even more and more overhead and more complexities as things come about. And that complexity is something we want to avoid. It's one of the pitfalls of composable because sometimes people will choose a platform. Maybe I choose a platform that's maybe it's more complex than I thought, or maybe it has very specific developer requirements. Each one of those things we have to be very careful about how we use it. That's why we want to look at what's the sort of best of breed, or what's the sort of the most effective way and simple way to solve only the problems that you have. We don't want to choose platforms that solve problems that we don't have because we think we might have that problem in the future or whatever, because we can swap out these platforms if they become, maybe we have a search platform that, right now it does a little bit of stuff, but in the future our needs change. Maybe we need vector search for AI and we want to choose a different platform for that. Cool, you can swap that platform out pretty easily. Some of these composable platforms are a little more sticky. Headless is definitely very sticky. Headless CMS, very sticky. Commerce, pretty sticky. But in general, swapping those platforms out from a composable point of view, a lot easier from a traditional DXP type of point of view. One of the other things that can happen that I kind of hinted at before is this kind of vendor cost sprawl, where you can have all of these different things. And from the website, that's a hosting cost you're going to be looking at. Each one of these things is going to bring with it its own contract. And we want to have similar contracts, or appropriate contracts for the kind of vendors that supply each of these different pieces. And I would say overall, my thought is it's better to split up those contracts than to try to find one vendor that has everything. Because what'll happen is that you're going to have now one big contract that's a mega contract that is going to be one renewal that you're looking at, and it's going to have a lot of overhead and it'll have things in it that you don't need. You can keep your contracts smaller by choosing the right vendors that only solve the problems that you need. So the technical mitigations that we put in place also should help on the cost mitigations. And You also are able to negotiate, and this is going to take a little bit more time, but you're going to be able to negotiate those contracts individually with all of those vendors to make sure that they're meeting your needs and only your needs, because they might have parts of their solution. There might be a commerce provider that does all kinds of commerce stuff that you don't need. So you need to make sure that that's not in your contract, and that you're not paying for stuff that you don't use. How do we maintain success with all of these pitfalls? What are the kind of pillars of success? And I'm going to outline a few of these. The first thing is you want to invest in good architecture. What are the blueprints that you want for your solution? Maybe you're going to create those yourself. Maybe they'll start out maybe as wireframes and design, but it needs to go deeper than that. It needs to go, what are the actual systems in place? How do they talk to each other? And who needs to help put these together? And what is the workflow for the people that are going to use that? All of that is architecture, and I would invest in that early on so that you can say, what is the minimum viable product that I can do if I'm going to get into composable? Take an incremental approach. Don't try to solve it all at once. If it's going to take a lot of investment in terms of time and resources, what's the minimum amount of those that we can get to maximize the outcome right away and start getting the little wins? If you look back at the incremental approach video that's part of this series, that'll help you with strategies for that as well. Invest in your technology organization and the partnerships that drive that. As I said earlier, whether you know it or not, you are a technology organization. Every company is a technology company, and the investment in that can be incremental. It can be little by little, but understand that the money that you put towards that, the resources that you put towards that, the people in your organization that are supporting that technology are really important to invest in over time, and to make sure that that's as much a part of the knowledge of your business as other parts of your business as well. It's a strength of every business now. Avoid complexity. Complexity is something that kind of tends to creep in. It can hit you all at once if you try to do too much all at once. But it can also be one of these things where over time things get added on. Someone purchases a product, and sometimes products are really easy to add on. Like for instance, analytics is one of those ones where you can just drop in a snippet of code in your website, and all of a sudden you have a new analytics platform. But then someone else drops in another snippet that's another analytics platform, and I've got Hotjar and Google Analytics and all these other things, and all of a sudden my analytics portion of my composable strategy is this really complex thing that I don't necessarily understand. So keeping an eye on how that works and keeping it simple as possible by avoiding complexity will really help with composable success. And overall, following these pillars and really looking at how you can maintain integrity in terms of your technology operation with your composable system is going to help you for long-term success. And as always, we want to talk to you about these things. This is something that we've worked with a lot of customers on, and everyone's got different sort of things with their business and how it works. So reach out. I hope you enjoyed this series. There's a lot of fun putting it together. We really enjoy working with customers who are working through these composable pieces of their journey. So let's talk about it. So that's the end of our series on composable architecture. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little bit about it. My name's Joel Vardy. I'm CTO at Agility CMS. We're a headless CMS. We love to work with customers. I spent a lot of my career actually architecting solutions and implementing solutions for customers before I went 100% SaaS with Headless CMS. So I really want to reach out to me personally. You can find me on social media at Joel Vardy, or reach out to me through the company, sales@agilitycms.com. Talk to us or just comment on this video. These conversations and the collaboration that you do in the technology space is something that can really tighten the relationships that you had. There's a lot to learn both ways. Let's continue the conversation, and happy to connect.